they raised me as normally as they possibly could, and CF was just a part of who I was. It wasn't the biggest thing in their lives or our lives. Raising me to be a human being was the most important thing, and me having cystic fibrosis was just a part of it. So I'm very grateful for that, and it's probably moulded me to the person that I've become.
Welcome to the Princess of Possible, where you will hear some inspiring stories of people that have defied the impossible. My name is Emma Money, cystic fibrosis warrior, 2020 Australian of the Year South Australian local hero, or as I prefer, the Princess of Possible. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Princess of Possible. I'm really excited for today's guest. I am speaking with Harry Coffey, an Australian jockey that I am very excited to learn more about, as I have been following his career, especially over the last 12 months. And he is amazing and lives with cystic fibrosis and is yet another probably prince making things possible. I don't know how you feel about me calling you a prince there, Harry, but welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me today.
No, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure, and it's pretty cool what you're doing, telling people's stories. So hopefully it can reach out and grab people's attention and let people know more about cystic fibrosis, because it is a bit of a disease that's hidden. People don't know that we've got it, isn't it? So it's pretty awesome to showcase what some of us guys are doing with it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's probably a big reason you've come on my radar is I didn't know that you had cystic fibrosis, and learning that you had CF and doing the job that you do and being in the career that you have is quite demanding and obviously requires a lot from you on many levels, which I want to talk about with you. But I want to strip it back and start from the beginning first of all. Something I want to ask you is, can you describe yourself to give our viewers a little bit of an idea about who Harry is? But in 3 words, tell me, you as a person, how would your mates, your family describe you, Harry Coffey?
Driven. I'd say I'm driven. That's one word, isn't it? You don't need me to abbreviate. You just want
that's good.
Be one word line. So I'm driven. I'm pretty genuine. I don't, carry on too much. I just like to get on with it, and I'm really happy with what I've got in my life. I'm not out there to show off or anything, and pretty healthy at the moment too. I'm really fortunate in a place at the moment with my health, so maybe that's why I'm going so well in not only my career but also my life at the moment. It's pretty stable and going along well.
Yeah, that's amazing. To have good health is probably something that all of us hope to have, and obviously a good life and have that balance. Now, you're 26 years old, is that correct?
Yes, I'm 26, yes.
26, okay. So in saying that you're 26, I've done a little bit of research, I must admit, on who you are and your CF journey, and I felt like I related to you quite a bit in the sense of the way our CF journeys are. So I want to take it back to the beginning for you with cystic fibrosis. I recently watched a documentary that was put on racing.com that was done so well, talking about your cystic fibrosis and your career as a jockey. And one thing that stood out to me, there were many things, but probably the first thing was the support from your mum and dad and your family, and the way that your dad spoke about when you were diagnosed with CF and how that all came about for them. Tell me a little bit more about your memories from a young age. Do you remember when you were you ever sat down and told you had CF? How did you know you had CF? And growing up for you, what did CF look like?
Well, I was really fortunate, and I'm not saying that people have bad parents, but my parents did an amazing job with not only handling my health but raising me. And my mother, and my dad would be happy to say this, my mother probably took the brunt of the load of keeping me healthy and well, and I'm very grateful for that. She's what you'd call a qualified nurse without the degree. And then as I got later in life, I sort of started to become probably closer with my dad as well, and that's where my career took me, because he was with the horses. So my mum's been the one that's kept me down to earth, kept me healthy and well, and then my lifestyle choices are probably more around my father. And I'm lucky enough that my parents are still together and, happily in love, which I think is an amazing thing because what they would have gone through raising me would be extremely tough. But who knows, maybe it brought them closer together and it made them realise how, lucky they are to have what they've got. Because I've always said when I was first born, imagine how scary it would have been for first-time parents having this perfect little baby and then you take them home. And my dad tells stories that they went on a holiday down to the beach. I don't know what sort of podcast you're running here, Emma, if we're allowed to swear or not.
Swear away. We're good.
He said you wouldn't stop shitting. You just were shitting everywhere. I just had to hold you in the bath.
Oh, no.
Because obviously that's one of the symptoms we have with CF is we can't digest properly. And they were obviously in a place of worry. They were trying to holiday and do what you do as normal parents would do with their newborn. But, yeah, my mum had early mother instincts that something wasn't right. Me to the doctor and they said, we're still waiting on the heel prick, but it looks like Harry's probably got cystic fibrosis. Then weeks later, the 6-week heel prick came back and it confirmed that I had CF. And as my dad said, their lives turned upside down. So they've been amazing for me, support. 2 years later, they had another child, my brother Sam, and he doesn't have CF, so which is amazing. It was great that he doesn't have CF. And me and Sam are extremely close and we've had a great childhood and been given every opportunity from our amazing parents. And to answer your question about when did I find out or when was I sat down and told I had CF, there was never a real moment that I can remember. But I think that identifies the sort of upbringing that I had. It was never you were sit down and sat down and told something specifically. It was just take life as it comes, and it was just common knowledge that I had CF, and that's the way I was brought up. It was not to hide it. I was to go out and be a part of the community and do things normally. I went to kindergarten, I went to school, and I mingled with people, and they raised me as normally as they possibly could. And CF was just a part of who I was. It wasn't the biggest thing in their lives or our lives. Raising me to be a human being was the most important thing. And me having cystic fibrosis was just a part of it. So I'm very grateful for that. And it's probably moulded me to the person that I've become. As I said before, I pride myself on being driven, like to do well at my career. And I've still got these great parents today that I'm so lucky to have. So they're my biggest supporting base as well with my riding. So very lucky to have a mother and father like I do.
You are. That's amazing. I think you're right as well. Having that support and foundation from a young age and not being treated any different has probably helped your mindset to just sort of see CF like I do for myself. It's merely an interruption to my day sometimes, but it definitely does not define who we are, what we do and what we're capable of. So the things you've just said completely align with that and speak true to that. So CF has never defined you, but it obviously does cause daily interruptions, and something I am always interested in because everyone's CF is different. So I did ask you off air before what gene you have, and you said the double delta 508. Now, that's the most common CF gene. I didn't know what mine was until a few years ago because I'm not medically, I don't need to know the statistics of things. It's kind of irrelevant, but it's actually quite interesting for a lot of people what genotype CF people are. But one thing I think that comes in, there's a few elements, I guess, with that, is that with the CF gene comes an element of being quite cheeky and quirky, and I think there's sort of some sort of personality.
I think we're a little bit chirpy and cheeky because if we ever get ourselves in trouble, we've got a way out. We can just play the sick card and nobody knows it's coming maybe. I don't know. You're right, though. Every person that I've known to have CF's got that cheeky smile and way about them that you know they're going to get up and have a crack tomorrow. So I unfortunately haven't dealt a lot with many people with cystic fibrosis. I went to the Royal Children's in Melbourne, and because of cross-infection, I didn't really mix with a lot of other patients, but I knew of them. Yeah. But I was fortunate enough that I didn't have a lot of infections when I was a child, so I wasn't put into the mixed rooms where there were infections. Yeah. And I was sort of isolated. So I don't really have many stories to tell you about
growing up with CF. Yeah.
CF, but you do notice reading blogs or articles or watching videos that we do have that sly smirk that you think you could nearly talk your way out of anything.
Yeah, I think we definitely have that. And I think it's almost like I always say we have this sort of family bound. We've not all met, but we all have something that only we can all appreciate and understand what we go through. And it's sort of like you could walk past each other and give the old nod, and you know what I'm talking about. Like, we have that respect and appreciation for one another. Now, tell me then, while we're talking about growing up and just, I guess, even bring it forward to today with CF, and then I want to get into your exciting career, because for me, I think it's something that will be of interest to many. Tell me what you do. What is the day in the life for CF treatment for you look like?
Day in the life of Harry varies a lot because of my career choice, my occupation, and obviously what I'm paid to do of being a jockey. We nearly race every day of the year here in Victoria. So there's always something to do when you're a jockey. And to add a little bit of extra workload in, I live in a lovely town called Swan Hill, which is where my family's from. And me and my beautiful wife, Taylor, live 5 minutes from Swan Hill on a little farm with 25 acres with a few horses and some dogs and cats. And we live a pretty low-key, down-to-earth life, but that's the way we love it. So living in Swan Hills, 3.5 hours north of Melbourne, and it's about 5.5 hours from Emma in Adelaide. So we are in the middle of nowhere, to put it kindly. So my workload is all around the state in Victoria, and I'm always in the car driving to race meetings. I probably ride 3 or 4 days a week in Victoria and do a set of jump outs or trials once or twice a week, either on a day that I'm not race riding or the morning of, and then go on to the races. And to put it out there, if anyone's like, oh, well, how many hours a week would you drive? That varies, but I do about 100,000 kilometres a year on the road in my vehicles. So when people ask me how much fuel do you use, or, you know, how often do you go through cars, on average, every 12 months, I do about 100,000 Ks a year, which, you know, is about 2,000 kilometres a week in the vehicle. So I'm away from home a bit. And as I said, when you ask me about what a day is like for me, it does change, because tomorrow I might be at Bendigo riding, which is 2 hours. So I've got plenty of time to do something. Then the next day I might be at Geelong, which is 4.5 hours. And the day after that, I might be riding at Adelaide. Now, that can all vary. Sometimes I might catch a flight from Melbourne to Adelaide, or other times I might drive home because I have to be home for a reasoning, or my wife, Taylor, might say, look, I'll come with you and we'll stay the night somewhere. Or she might say, I need a rest from you. Can you please have a night away? So it all varies what I do.
Yeah.
But on a standard day, what I love to do is I will get up at 4:30. I'll go into the local racetrack here at Swan Hill, where my dad has 20 horses in work. He's a horse trainer. Ride 5 or 6 for him, track work, and then help him around the stables. Me and Dad have a really close relationship, and I'm also really involved in his business of training racehorses. And then say if there's a race meeting close by, I would jump in the car. I obviously have all my medication and that with me on the run. I have a PowerPoint in my Ford Ranger ute that I hook up my machine to, and I will do my physiotherapy while someone is driving me to the races. Dad or my wife Taylor or Mum might come for a drive to the races, and I'll do that, and that'll be my airway clearance. Now, if someone can't come with me to the races, I have to either finish work earlier at the track or get up earlier and get that physio done before I ride, because obviously it's a lot easier to ride in races with a clear set of lungs.
Yeah.
I'll then go to the races. You have to be at the races an hour before your first ride. I might have 4 or 5 rides. Hopefully I get a winner. And then hopefully I'm home in time for tea, which is very rarely because of where I live. It's so far away. And then I get home for tea and go to bed, and hopefully the next day I've got off so that I don't have to race around the state. But it varies a lot. Like some days I might do trials at Ballarat, and I might ride trials and then go to the races somewhere after that in Melbourne and ride 2 rides. So, yeah, my life's very hard to get a gauge on what I'm doing, and sometimes it's a little bit frustrating for my family if we're trying to plan a dinner for someone's birthday or something. But I've been riding 11 years now, so they're starting to get used to it.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're very compliant, I guess, from a CF factor. Like if you're not, if you don't do your treatment hypothetically before a race day, you're really going to feel the effects. So it sounds like, would you agree, you're compliant and consistent daily with just the maintenance of CF treatment?
Yeah, I am. As I've matured, I've learned it just needs to be done.
Yeah.
When I was between the ages of 16 to say 21, I was quite slack with my treatment, and I was at a young age and I was riding in races and going quite well, and you sort of almost get this feeling of invisibility, like how could I not be healthy if I'm riding so good? And everybody's talking about you and how good your riding is and how great your life must be. And it's almost like, well, my CF's not that bad, but, it comes back to bite you on the butt.
Yeah.
And I've now learned it doesn't matter how good you're going, if I can get, that half an hour of day of my physio in, not only am I going to ride better, but I'm going to feel better as well. And it puts me in a better mood. I'm easier to live with. My family like me more, and I can go out and be more normal because my lungs allow me to be. So I've now learned that you need to somehow fit it in. It doesn't matter how busy you are. And look, I might miss a day here and there, but it annoys me. I now get anxiety, where when I was a lot younger, I used to think I was invisible and too good for it. So
you've learnt the hard way.
It's a really tricky time for people with CF, is that going from a kid to an adult, because it would have been hard for my mum as well. She had to let go of that controlling influence on me every day, and she was superb. Like we did not miss a beat with my medication. And then you grow up and you have your own relationships, and like I started dating my wife Taylor when I was 18, 17, and she then becomes the most important person in your life, and she's not pushing you to do your medication, where before that, you had your mother and father there to push you along. You end up moving out and you start your own life, and it just takes you a little while to adapt that, hey, you've got to keep things intact, lest you'll lose too much ground, and it's not worth it.
Yeah, you become very responsible for yourself, don't you? It's that independence. No one's going to do it for you. You have to do it, but it is like your mum hands the baton over, and probably watch you sort of become, I guess, a little bit naughty as you don't, from going from treatment every day to missing creon potentially, which is your pancreas, with a couple of meals, and, maybe not doing that neb, and you kind of think you're invincible to a degree, and you don't need to do it today, but it will catch up with you within a few days, that's for sure.
And I had real trouble with it because I was quite a successful apprentice jockey. And I at a young age, I got to ride a lot of nice horses. And because I was, and, the media are heavily involved, we have a channel here in Victoria that is just dedicated to Victoria racing. And every time that I'd ride a winner, there's, a well done and how good was Harry today? Yeah. And you almost get that feeling like, how could I be sick? How is there something wrong with me?
Yeah.
I rode 2 winners today in Melbourne. I don't need to do this. But as I said, it comes back to bite you in the bum. And as I've become more mature, I understand that. And not only is my life better now, I'm better at what I do too because of how healthy I am.
Yeah, no, I think that's good advice for anyone listening, CF or not, that it's just taking care of you is so important. And that half hour a day is obviously vital to the long term of it. Let's talk about, you said that you were an apprentice. Now, your dad, Osty, he's the horse trainer in the family. Is that correct? Yep. So you've been born and bred around the horse racing industry and horses and farm life by the sounds of it. Given that it's in your blood, I know that from what I've learned about you is, you got your apprenticeship with your dad, and that was the beginning of, I guess, the beginning. Tell me about your apprenticeship with your dad and how that started, and how, have you always loved horse riding, and what made you want to get into the racing side of that?
I sort of early on, as a young kid, I always loved racing and I enjoyed what Dad did, but I was lucky enough that Mum and Dad, I had a pretty normal life growing up. It wasn't heavily racing. Like I played junior footy, and I was fortunate enough that I was able to get the odd kick, so I wasn't always on the bench, and I really enjoyed my football. But at junior level, when you're small, you can sort of get a kick. As you grow up and everybody continues to get muscle up, I used to just get pushed out of the way.
Because you're only little, aren't you?
I think when that started to happen and it started to come, everyone started to realise, gee, he's small and he's not growing. It sort of became, well, he's not going to have weight issues. He's quite into the horses. and I started to ride a little bit of track work for Dad.
Mm-hmm.
My mother is from a grain farm in Berwick, which is 40 minutes from here in Swan Hill,
Mm-hmm.
and she's got a real farming background. She's not into the horses, but Dad's family is from a little place from Birchip, which is half an hour from Berwick. That's how my mum and Dad met. And his family's had horses all around them all their life. So it was either one way or the other, farming or horses, and just naturally getting close with your father like most children do.
Yeah.
I chose the horses, and I started to get up early and go over to the stables before I'd go to school. And Dad used to ride next to me on a pony while leading me, teaching me how to ride in the correct positioning that a jockey would be. I've always ridden ponies and
Mm-hmm.
like naturally what you see people doing
Mm-hmm.
to really click into gear into that jockey sort of style and working different muscles and that unique figure you see a jockey ride with on a horse.
Mm-hmm.
That's when Dad started to come into it, and he really ironed that into me. And when I was 15, Dad made application to race in Victoria for me to become an apprentice jockey, and you go through some serious interviews and testing because they have people like 40 or 50 people apply and they only want to take 10.
Wow.
So then they had to cut that back. But luckily enough, I don't think it was because of how good my testing was, because we actually had to do a VO2 max test, so I would have failed that. I think it was more the fact my dad's quite a respected person in the industry here in Victoria, that they thought if he's happy to back this kid,
Yeah.
he wouldn't put his son through it if he didn't think he was up to it. And Dad pretty much said, look, if he's not up to it, I'll just have him ride my horses up in the rough stuff up here around Swan Hill. And
Yeah.
11 years later, we're still going. So my apprenticeship with Dad was for 4 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And to go back on that talk where Mum is from Berwick, Dad became really good friends with a bloke from Berwick called Darren Weir, who
Mm-hmm.
was the leading horse trainer in Victoria when I was an apprentice.
Yep.
And because of that connection that my family had with Darren, I rode for Darren a lot. And
Yep.
that's sort of how my career took off. Darren started to use me in Melbourne regularly, and I was riding, 2 or 3 winners a week in the metropolitan scene as a young kid. And
so you really got your name out there and got you noticed.
Got my name out there, and I rode for a lot of good owners, good horses, big money, and I haven't looked back. I'm very grateful for what not only my dad taught me and got me going, but also what Darren did for my career as well. So I've been very lucky that I've had good people around me to support my career the whole way through.
And what you said earlier from your personality, you're very driven, and that comes out even in what you're saying now, and having that support from your dad and your mum on different levels, but having this apprenticeship with your dad and being able to get up early and go be with him in the mornings and sort of doing that, how special for you to have that bond with him. Something that did strike my attention, and I wanted to touch on this with you, is 2 things. So being a jockey, you need to be lean and not too heavy. Thankfully, with cystic fibrosis, one of the, pros is that we really struggle to gain weight. So that is something that came up that I had a look at, is one of your rides, I think, now you can correct me because it's your story, but I think you're about 15 and you rode with a gastrostomy button in your stomach. Now, is that true?
Yeah, that's true, yeah. When I was, I'm not quite sure, I might have been 12 or 13, I was having a lot of trouble keeping condition on because of CF.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't hold the nutrition as well as the doctors would like. And the doctors at the Royal Children's decided that the best option for me was to put a peg in.
Yeah.
And my mother would hook me up to night feeds every night, 750 mils of the
milk
yuck stuff.
Yep.
Right. I went from 30 odd kilos, put on 10 kilos within the first 6 months.
Wow.
And then we did that for another 12 to 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to creep up to about 45 to 48 kilos.
Yeah.
And while this creeping was happening was sort of the similar time that I was starting to realise that I was quite keen on being a jockey.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're hooked up to a machine at night, it's quite awkward and yuck, as you know,
I've had
what it's like.
Yeah,
so
it's not nice, is it?
That aren't nice. And a gut plug's not one of them. And Dad would get up at terrible hours of the morning to go work horses. So when he would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, he would get me up for my middle of the night wee, because he'd be able to hold the bottle up high enough and the machine while I weed. And he said it used to be one of the most toughest things he'd have to do is standing there watching me wee while holding the machine. For me, just wasn't fair.
It's very confronting, isn't it?
And a normal young kid growing up, doesn't go through that. And he goes, and we all knew you wanted to be a jockey, and yet we're filling you up to make you bigger. So as it went on, I was still getting the feeds, and we approached my doctor about being a jockey. And my mum was quite concerned that maybe it wasn't the greatest career move, not only because you can have a race fall at any time, but maybe it's not very good for our health. And my doctor, he said, at the end of the day, if you don't have dreams, you won't get out of bed. But Harry, you have to be healthy to get out of your bed to follow your dreams, which is a very mixed, thing to say.
Yeah.
He said, I'm trusting you to make the decisions on if you think you should ride, you can. But if your health isn't up to it and you're able to get out of the bed healthy because of your career, you need to take a step back and focus on your health. He said, but as I said, if you can't follow your dreams and I sit here now and break them on you, you'll have no reason to get out of bed and you'll go home and sulk. And it's actually just good advice for anyone. If you can't follow your dreams, you're not going to want to get out of bed.
Yeah.
But you have to be healthy to follow your dreams. And it's one, I should remember most things my doctors say, but that is one thing that me and my mum took home and we've never forgotten. So that went home. We still had the peg in, and then 6 months later we had another appointment. He said, I see you're about to start riding. Just a little question. Are you doing the peg feeds anymore? And I put my head down and Mum said, no, he's not. And he said, I didn't think you would be. I said, well, what's that mean? And he said, I suppose we'll rip it out because you're not going to use it, are you? And I said, no, I'm not. So, but yeah, I played with a peg in my tummy.
Yeah.
In junior footy, we got a little thing made up to go around my stomach and protect me
to
for
protect
tackles.
it. Oh gosh.
And I had my first 50 race rides with a thing in my guts, which was a little bit embarrassing because in the jockey's room, you're with elder men who you've actually looked up to watching TV, and then I was getting around the rooms with this thing in my guts, almost like a swimming sports day in high school. It was almost a little bit embarrassing having a peg in your tummy, but now it's out. And if anyone asks me about it, I just say that my brother shot me in the guts for the spotlight.
Because you've got a nice little pothole scar there. Little one. Isn't it amazing though that just shows even having that going on, it didn't stop you, and I guess you found that balance to be able to be healthy enough, what that meant for you then to follow your dreams and get out of bed every day. And sounds like it's kind of been a positive for you in a way that your mindset, you've never let it define you, and your parents, your upbringing, you just kind of get up, get on with it, know what you got to do. Obviously it's come with challenges. Have you ever had anything, obviously we all find ourselves in dark places at times and can get quite negative. Did you ever find, and do you find even now, that you get stuck in a little bit of a rut where you think, you just can't do it? Because I know with CF, some days we have to have a CF day where you just might look lazy, but you do just need a Netflix and chill, or, and that can be quite hard to swallow when you're someone who's so driven that you actually do need to stop. Do you find you get into that, and how do you get out of it?
Oh, if you asked my wife, Taylor, she'd tell you I'm a pretty fried unit. My brain ticks very differently, and that I'm almost addicted to getting out and doing well. And I almost get anxiety if I don't do something in a day. So if I have a day off from the races and we just sit at home, by about 5 o'clock, I'm in a bad mood because I feel like I've wasted a day. And it is healthy to have a day where you do nothing, but as I said, she'd say that I'm a real fried unit. Like I'd get outside looking, just want to go start the whippersnipper and just whippersnip under one tree, so that when I get up tomorrow and look at that tree, I go, yeah, I did that yesterday.
That. Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
You do need to have days where you just switch off. And not only for CF, but also in the career that I've got as a jockey, because it is really mentally draining. Being any athlete, let alone an athlete where you have to connect with horses, owners, trainers, and drive all over the state, it's just really mentally draining, because you can drive 4.5 hours and think you're going to win a race and the horse doesn't turn up, or you ride it bad, and it can just be because of a bad barrier. It just runs last. You got 4.5 hours to drive home thinking about it. And sometimes the service isn't that great, so you can't ring anyone and talk about it either. So
yeah, so in your own
sometimes you do
thoughts.
just a chill out day. But as I said, I'm a bit of a fried unit who battles with that. And I like to be outside and doing stuff. And out of my shed here at the farm, I've got a lot of toys that I've wasted money on, tractors and gators. And,
So you got a big toy farm there for you to play with.
I'm addicted to playing farmers, even though it's only 20 acres. But that's my outlet. That's how I get away from life, is being here with Taylor. And
Now, you guys are recently married, aren't you?
yeah.
Congratulations.
So,
How's married life?
She's stuck with me now, but we're going pretty well. It's pretty awesome to be married. We'd been together 9 years before we got married, so she's done a good job waiting.
Oh, you did all right then. You've locked her down.
Yeah, it's a pretty special thing though to have someone commit to you for life, especially when you've got what we've got. Like they got the opportunity to go out and choose a normal lifestyle, yet she's chosen to have somebody with a health condition with so much uncertainty, and then to throw in a crazy fried brain jockey as well. So
you're a real catch there, Harry.
It's an amazing thing for a person to take that on.
It is.
But love's a funny thing. She probably didn't want to fall in love with me, but that's what happens, isn't it? You can't choose who you fall in love with.
That is true. I think that just makes me think as well, do you guys ever talk about those uncertain times? You know, is it something that's come up in, you know, I guess relationships? We have to talk to our partners in those times where you do get sick, and transplant, thankfully, doesn't seem like it's on the cards, especially now with all the new medicine that's available for us. But that's still in the back of your head at some point, is it not? And how do you guys deal with that?
Yeah, I think too, like I've been so lucky that I haven't had a major step back where it's sort of like, wow, where are we at? Is this touch and go? Like, I have had really smooth sailing, and I'm so grateful. I don't know who to blame, whether it was my mother for what the groundwork she put in early as a young child, whether it's my doctors, or whether I literally have just been kissed on the dick. I'm not sure who to blame, but some people say, and my doctor at the Alfred believes, because of my choice of occupation and how busy my lifestyle is, he said, you don't have time to get sick. You don't allow your body to even consider getting sick because you can't. He said, you're competing against Damien Oliver, Craig Williams, Hugh Bowman. He said, you're competing against the best at what you do. He said, and you're not allowing your body to get sick because you want to beat them. So
that's amazing. To hear you even say that they're who you're competing against, do you pinch yourself? And like, these are people you probably looked up to when you were younger as well, and now you're competing against these guys. How amazing.
It's pretty cool. And he loves having a bit of a racing chat when we have a doctor's appointment. So
does he?
When I rode the Melbourne Cup this year,
I was going to ask you about that. Melbourne Cup, that was your first ride for the Melbourne Cup in your career?
Yeah, it was. So it wasn't a very good chance to win, but it was still amazing to be a part of the event. So
that's that's amazing.
Yeah, I rode it good too, so that's the most important thing.
I did see it. At least you know you can say you rode it well, and you know you've ridden in the Melbourne Cup. I was going to ask you career highlights. I'd imagine that is probably quite up there, that you can say you've done that. In the background, I know you've got a Group 1 race photo there that you're probably quite proud of. You can tilt your camera up a little bit and we can have a little look. Tell me a little bit about that race.
Yeah, so that's probably my career highlight, because a Group 1 is the pinnacle of our sport, and people that don't understand racing probably don't know how much a Group 1 win means to the participants of our great game. But to put it simply, it's like winning a gold medal, because there's plenty of gold medals on offer at the Olympics, but it's really hard to win. Now, a Group 1 is really hard to win because the best jockeys win them regularly. Like Damien Oliver is one of the best riders we will ever see in our time. He is the elite. You can compare him to any sportsman in Australia of any sport, and he would be the equivalent to whoever is interested in a sport. You think of the best sportsman, like the best person that competes at that sport, and that's what Damien Oliver is in our sport.
Yeah.
And he's won 113 of them and been riding since I was born, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I have to go and try and beat him. So I've won one Group 1 and he's won like 120 odd, I think.
So you've got a few things to work hard there for.
that's like an Olympian going to the Olympics for 30 years and winning 120 Olympic gold medals. So someone out there else has scored gold medals a lot better. But that's trying to put it simply how much it means to win a Group 1. So it's the elite of our sport, and it's the hardest races for our best horses to win. Now, there are Group 1s that are harder to win than others, and I won the South Australian Oaks, which is in Adelaide. It's restricted for 3-year-old fillies. It's over 2,000 metres, and I won it for Darren Weir at the time when he was training a few years back.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it was amazing because a lot of people that were close to me, you know, they're just happy that I've been able to ride and do well. But to win at the elite level, nobody could imagine me doing that because of what I've been through. And I wasn't expected to do it. And then to even get rides at the elite level is one thing. But then to jump out of the barriers, ride it good, and then win it in a tight finish, yeah, it was...
That's amazing. That's incredible.
Amazing. It was amazing for my confidence, but to see everyone around me enjoy it so much was so special, and that's the highlight of my career. To date, and hopefully I can get another Group 1 to make sure everyone knows it wasn't a fluke.
And maybe for you just to have another pinch me moment, hey?
Yeah, that's right.
So tell me, if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice, what would you do differently, or what would you tell yourself?
I wouldn't change a lot. Like, I've been really lucky that I'm really happy and grateful for how my life's turned out. And I think with, you know, the illness that I've got, I know how quickly something can go wrong. And every day I wake up and I'm happy that that's not going wrong. So I'm really happy and grateful for how things are for me.
Yeah.
And I'm 26 years old, and I've been riding in races since I was 15. I have, if I wasn't to ride tomorrow, I've achieved, I would like to go and achieve more, but if I couldn't ride tomorrow, I wouldn't feel ripped off. Yeah. I've been so lucky to do what I've already done. I've got this photo on the wall, a Group 1 win that I'm so proud of, and I'm living here where my family and my wife's family have grown up in Swan Hill. We've got our own place. If I want to go and get on the tractor that I bought, I can. I have an awesome life with something to show of it, and that's because of my career and the people around me.
Yeah.
Now, if I didn't have cystic fibrosis, I mightn't have been light enough to ride in races. My world could have been completely different. You know, I'm not saying I wanted to have CF, but in a way, I'm just grateful for how my life's turned out with the cards that I've dealt. I think if I was playing poker, I mightn't be going to win, but I'm going to make the most of the hand I've got. So I don't have anything to go back on and change.
Yeah, that's a really good.
If anything, I probably, that stage in my life where I thought I was invisible, and I put my career of riding and how good I was going first, and just thought, you know what, if I'm this good and how good I'm going, my health must be okay.
Yeah.
I was wrong, and I lost a little bit of ground. My lung function dropped, and I probably also lost time with my friends at school and that. Like, I didn't go to 18th birthdays, or they went away with their partners on a weekend and that, and I was busy riding. Now, I can't even remember the horse I rode that day when they went and did something and I didn't go. Or you miss out on a lot of things because of the career that I chose. Very absorbing, this industry, as I spoke about earlier. Like, if you ride a winner, you get told how good you are, and you've just got to remember, if you're not riding a winner next week, they're not talking about you. So it's all just bullshit and fake. And if I could tell myself that now, I think I wouldn't have lost so much ground at a younger age with my health when I didn't give it the respect it deserved, but I'm better for it now. As I said, it's all happens for a reason. I'm really happy with how life's turned out for me, and I'm ready to make the most of whatever comes my way.
That's amazing. And I think, learning, you got to push the boundaries sometimes, don't you? Like, you got to work out what's right and wrong. And the only way to do that sometimes is by making the mistake and doing what maybe you shouldn't. So it sounds like you're such a beautiful person. You've got such a well-grounded mind and such a great outlook on life. And I think people will be able to really learn a lot just from listening to you and feel inspired, because I am. Tell me, the last thing I really want to know, let's talk about future for you. What do you see? Where do you see yourself in the next few years, and what does your future look like?
Obviously, we just got married, Taylor and myself.
Yes.
We had a beautiful had a beautiful wedding. It was actually.
Where did you have it?
I don't shy away from saying it was the best day I've had in my life. It was awesome, great fun, and it happened the second weekend out of COVID restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
So our party went mad because nobody had done anything. They just went wild. So we had the greatest fun ever.
Oh, the photos are beautiful. I've seen the photos. It looks like you had quite a big bridal party as well.
Yeah, we had too many friends to pick from, so we just had
chucked them all in.
But that's a good thing. That's how lucky I am. I've got so many special people in my life, and as I said earlier, like with my job, like you're off doing stuff all the time, and they probably think, oh, geez, he's selfish. But if I ring them, they'll do anything for me. So I'm so lucky to have these people around me. And yeah, we had a great day on the wedding day, and it's what Taylor deserved because she looked beautiful and
she looks stunning.
She's an incredible person. So I'm very lucky to have her, and we had a great time. And what the future holds, well, yeah, we've got our little farm up here. We've got some horses on it, and we're trying to set it up that potentially we could have some more race horses on it and cater for, Dad's business down the track. We're not quite set up well enough yet. We still have to invest a little bit more into the property to set it up so that it's safe enough so that nothing goes wrong, and it's on me for the horses.
Yeah.
And then Taylor and I we'd love to obviously start a family, but, there is complications with having cystic fibrosis. And I spoke about earlier how incredible of a person you have to find to want to be with someone with CF forever, because there are complications with everything you choose to do with your future. And, we have to go down that path of IVF and that. But, yeah, we're both really excited for getting into it and seeing what the future holds. And we don't want to push our own wheelbarrow, but we think we're going to make some brilliant parents when the time comes.
Some pretty cute babies too, by the looks of you both. Oh, that's exciting.
Hopefully.
That's very exciting, Harry. I think that you, like I said earlier, you are just so humble and so well-rounded, and your mum and dad have done such a great job. And I think you're a wonderful example, not just for CF, but just in a general, as an example to anybody. You're very inspiring, and I think I love your country ways. You're so laid back, you say how it is, what it is, how it is, what it is. Is that how you say it? It is what it is. Kind of. You're a straight shooter by the looks of things. So I'm excited to watch you over the coming years. I don't see you giving up horse racing anytime soon. So I think you'll be one to watch, do you think? Any tips for any punters that are listening?
Well, actually, lately I've been riding really well and getting some really good opportunities, but you should never listen to a jockey tipping, especially me. I'm not much good at it, but if you do see me, now you know where I live. If you didn't know who I was originally, I live in Swan Hill. So the further I drive, the more you should think, maybe it's worthwhile him going, because I hate getting in the car and going a long way if it's not worth it. So any punter out there, don't stalk me too much on Google Maps, but I live in Swan Hill. So if you see me riding at Bairnsdale, or where else is far away, Wodonga, hopefully there's a winner there, unless it's going to be a sad trip home.
So we go for the ones you travel the furthest for, by a car too, not a plane. And they're the ones we'll be betting on. Awesome. I know you're here in Adelaide this weekend. I can't actually come up and meet you. I'll be there at the track, but I'll have to wave from you from the other track side. Thankfully, I can sit in the owners area where the trainers and stuff are, because I'm allowed to be there, but I can't actually come up and shake your hand because of cross infection. I know I've tried to get you on the show, and I'd love to have had you in the studio with me, but with CF, it's just not worth the risk. And I think when I've had another friend come into the studio and talk with me, but some of us are not as scared, not scared, that's probably the wrong word, but cross infection, we're all different with it. And when you're in a career like you are, and even me in my world, you just have to be careful. So we're a little bit restricted. So I'll be waving to you from the sidelines. Maybe you can give me a little ahoy from the track. Thank you, honestly, for joining me today. I am so grateful. I look forward to watching your career progress and increase and improve over the coming years. And I wish you and Taylor all the best. I know the IVF stuff it's a whole nother chapter, isn't it? But you know what? Where there's a will, there's a way. And I've got a few friends that have babies that are CF dads, and you just have to stay strong and positive with that and buckle up, I guess. It's a journey. But so's being a parent. I can talk of that. I've got 2 kids. It's crazy.
We've come this far, so surely, and I've put her through 9 years of putting up with me riding racehorses. So what's a couple of kids going to add to the equation? She has to put up with myself and my crazy family. So no, we'll be pretty good to go. We're really excited for it. But yeah, it's a part of CF. You never know what's going to happen, but
it is.
If you've got the right positive mindset, as you've just spoken about, we can take on anything, and that's why I suppose you're talking to me, because that's the way we are us CF people. We get it and make the most of any situation.
Yeah, you definitely do. And that's why I said earlier at the beginning, it is the princess of possible, but there have been a few princes on the show, and you're definitely a prince that has made the impossible way above possible. So I'm very grateful for that, and you've got a new crown in my eyes to be wearing. So thanks, Harry. I appreciate your time.
No, thank you for having me on. And
see you trackside, huh?
Anyone out there with a young child with CF, don't think they can't be a jockey, or any sportsman for that matter, because you have a crack, you might be able to get there. Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you. Thanks for listening today. For more information on upcoming episodes, or you just want to check out what I'm up to, head over to my Instagram, CF Mummy. Now, I put it to you to go and make the impossible possible.